Welcome to Lessons of a Tantra Goddess. We are here with the amazing Caroline Muir. She's been a Tantra teacher, a healer, and most of all, a follower of her heart her entire life. Our intention here is to share her story through her eyes and through her experiences to help you find your way to live your life freely, unapologetically, and in a way that makes sense to you. All we ask of you is that you show up with an open mind and open heart and leave your judgments at the door. Instead, open yourself to be curious. Ask yourself some questions as to how these powerful lessons are applying to you in your life right now. Is there something that your heart is longing for? Is there something that you truly long for? These questions, these stories will help you uncover that magic for yourself. So let's get started.
So you might wonder, what is a Tantra goddess? And how does one become one, and why would you want to be anyway? And I certainly had that question many years ago when I first heard about Tantra and knew in my heart, because I always follow my heart, that I need that. I need the spiritual studies of sexual union. I don't understand what that is. It's certainly never, I could relate to that in sex. And here was my yoga teacher speaking of spiritual union with lover and beloved. And I went, whoa, I want that. Yeah. So Tantra is the first word we're talking about. And then goddess was not a term that I was familiar with at all. Girl and then woman were the identities as a female, but goddess was something ethereal, a woman with long curly hair and gossamer gowns and who floated through the air like an angel. I didn't know.
Yeah.
But in living the life and in working so deeply and closely with so many women and the men who love them, I began to realize that it takes a certain goddess-like quality within oneself to live a big life. And goddess is simply the feminine version of God, and all that was very much a part of me. So
beautiful.
The Tantra goddess still feels like a good one to be.
I think we're all striving to be a goddess in our own way.
Yes.
Yeah. So
yes.
Our intention here is to bring you the lessons from Caroline's amazing 80 years of living life to the fullest and over 40 years, not only learning, experiencing, and living a tantric life, but teaching and healing hundreds of thousands of people in the process. And so, to start us off, the first lesson that I truly got from your memoir was really following the love. And I love the dedication of this book. You say in it, this book is dedicated to my greatest teacher, love. I've always wanted to be where love is. And it is so beautiful and emotional.
Yeah, yes. I do cry.
Yeah.
When I hear the words repeated back to me,
yeah.
Or when I've read them myself recently in reading a book that I wrote 10 or 12 years ago.
Yeah.
Love is the greatest teacher. Losing love, saying goodbye to love, saying hello to love again is a very big teacher in life.
Absolutely. Yeah. And love is so complex. And a lot of us think that it begins with loving somebody else, but it truly begins with loving ourselves. And I know for myself, that's been a challenge in my life, is learning that self-love. And so how can our viewers try to start that process of bringing more love in, of opening themselves up for more love and creating that love-filled life?
Well, we're not all going to be lucky enough to have the perfect partner who will help you receive the love that they have to give you.
Yeah.
But someone can love you a lot. It's can you receive and take it in. So the ways in which I learned to take in the love that was being given to me were to take a deep breath and pause for a moment before I automatically said, oh, I love you too.
Yes. Yeah.
But to take a deep breath
Yeah.
and receive and let it wash through me, this love
Yeah.
that you say you feel for me, and feel it in my bones, even if I couldn't feel it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So there are practices, there are real specific practices like taking that deep breath and then exhaling with thank you.
Yeah.
And don't return the compliment immediately,
Mm-hmm.
but really receive it.
Mm-hmm. Opening yourself up to just being in that love and standing in the present moment with it.
Yeah, and it's hard to do.
Absolutely.
It's really hard to do because we're so busy criticizing ourselves and seeing the parts that are not loving or not lovable, that when someone unabashedly just says, I love you so much, there's the tendency to just drop the screen and go, oh, you couldn't possibly love the me that just was raging in the kitchen or criticizing you for something. Which everyone has their moments. I think, at least I know women do.
Absolutely. I think everyone does. It's universal.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
I don't hear it from the men I've been with as much as I am aware of it from myself and in talking to other women. We have a critical eye and straighten your tie, honey, or straighten your belt's not lined up with your zipper, or we're always finding something to fix.
Yeah, I think that's internal. I feel like for males, it might be more of an external pressure where they're not really or haven't been in the past allowed to express their insecurities or vulnerabilities. And so that's why we're opening up this conversation, is to help anyone who's searching for a little bit more, anyone who's searching for living a more authentic and free life, to really truly take some of these lessons and adapt them into your own life and use them. Open yourself up to that possibility of something changing.
The possibility and the probability. Things will change if you start to put into practice some of the littlest things that you're hearing here. Now forget about the big things, like I can't go from right now to being a Tantra goddess, so what can I do? Well, I can take a deep breath, and next time my kids or even your family pet looks at you that way. Because the love is always coming towards us. We just miss it.
Absolutely. So this brings us to lesson number 2, and that is the importance of being the main character in your own love story. I loved the dedication to Charles, your former beloved and business partner, in this book. And you wrote, "My gratitude and love to Charles, beloved friend for all time, who was the central character of this memoir, until I discovered that the central character was really me."
Yeah, that was a good one. That was a good moment. I can remember that. I wrote half of this book sitting on an airplane flying between San Francisco and Maui. And often there were 3 empty seats that I would grab, of course, and spread out with my computer. And, it was a big aha moment, because I thought I was writing the book about the greatest love of my life and the greatest years of my life that were so unbelievably exciting and otherworldly and different than most marriages would ever be. And I really I always would credit him, because he was, quotes, my teacher. He was my yoga teacher when we began. But it was a big aha moment when I realized my memoir is about me. It's not about him or them or anyone else.
Absolutely. I feel like a lot of us who are listening to this, who are reading this in your book, can relate to that concept of realizing that we are all our own main character in our story. There is nobody else coming to save us. There is nobody else coming to do anything for us except enhance our experience. But the responsibility of our experience truly lies with us, within our own heart. And so the lesson that I truly get from your book is take responsibility for your own life. Take responsibility for your own experience. If your heart is calling you to something, go for it. Do it. Life is too short to be living somebody else's life.
I know growing up, there was a negative around being conceited or being too into yourself.
Yeah.
you know. And so there was always a conflict in loving myself, or I can't love myself. I have to love you and everybody else more than me. But it really became clear as the tantric path and teachings unfolded in my life that I am the one that is leading the way into my own awakening. And and all of you come in to assist me in awakening to myself, just as we are here to assist you in awakening into all that you are and all that you will be, as a reminder from two women who have, I think, done a good job so far of finding out who we are. And
we're definitely trying.
Yeah, and that's why we're sitting here with the camera on and making this a priority of our life right now, to get this information out to you in a cohesive way.
I feel like the new generation is such a good example of doing it right and really having that freedom to express themselves, to be themselves. Whereas us growing up in different generations, in different upbringing, there was such a pressure from society, from family, being the good girl, follow the man, he knows what's best for the family.
Right.
Those kind of messagings that we've been getting. And I want to ask you, where did you get the courage? Because you grew up a few decades before even I came along. And you really were a pioneer in standing your ground, in not conforming to what everyone else told you. How did you find the courage to do that, to go for it?
Well, good question. How did I find the courage? It's a big ball of energy, the courage. I think I felt the courage in the growing up as a young American girl, that my freedom was the gift of my country. Yeah. And I love my country. Yeah. So if I'm really free here, then I can't just conform like I see my mother tried to do and ended up in a mental hospital. I just saw conformity, and my grandmother tried to conform, but she ended up an alcoholic. Yeah. And I kind of started to realize that there's somebody along the chain of women here needs to change the channel. Yeah. And it was also the 1960s, and transformation was happening everywhere. And I was living in New York, and Kennedy was shot, and the Vietnam War was happening, and everybody was transforming into having the courage to speak out and to say no more. Yeah. Yeah. And I think I picked up on that too.
Absolutely.
If I don't have the courage to make my life everything I can even begin to dream of, I could see clearly that my dear and beloved first husband was not going to do it either. Right. I was following along in the shoes of his mother.
Right. He was not going to do it for you.
No.
Yeah. There's a powerful lesson here for all of us, I think, is the thing that you said, nobody will do it for you. You have to have the courage to do it for yourself. Yeah. If there's something that your heart is being called to, don't wait for somebody else to do it for you. Don't wait for somebody to give you the permission to do it for yourself. Do it because you want to. Do it because your heart is calling you.
Yes, and one more thing just popped in so clear in my mind. And everybody can look back in their ancestry and see what there might be to learn from your ancestors.
Absolutely.
And my ancestors crossed America in covered wagons and discovered the country. And that took a lot of courage for them and their parents to come over from Europe.
Absolutely.
And discover a new country, a big, beautiful country. Yeah. And I think I picked up on some of that pioneering spirit.
Absolutely.
And I wanted to pioneer my own country of my own life.
That's beautiful. I heard a quote once, and it said, "I come as one, but I stand as 1,000." And it was from Oprah Winfrey, and she was saying when she would go into these rooms filled with white men, and she was the only black female. Whoa. And she would tell herself, "I come as one, but I stand as 1,000." And she was thinking of all the women behind her who did the work, who showed up, who were fearless. And I want to acknowledge you as one of those women for me. When I think of the 1,000 behind me, you are one of the women at the forefront of doing the work and being courageous. And For all of us, our journey looks different. My life looks nothing like Caroline's. My journey is completely different. However, the connection is that we both search for freedom.
Yeah.
We both search for authenticity. And that's what it's about. It's never about following somebody else's journey. It's about creating your own.
Mm-hmm.
It's about following your own heart, being your own pioneer in a way.
Exactly.
And also becoming that one of the 1,000 for the future generations, because there will be girls and boys and humans that will come after us that need somebody to stand there for them, to have paved the way.
Yeah. Well, you're doing that too. Ilona is doing that too. As a young woman who came over from Europe with your family, and at 14 landed in an English-speaking country and had to figure it out. So pioneers are not just for the kids of the families like mine, but there are many of us, and many of you can look in your own families and see who was the most courageous one, and find that lineage and follow it.
Absolutely. So follow your own heart. Don't be scared of what's ahead. Be fearless and show up as one and stand as 1,000, because there are so many courageous souls who have come before you and paved the way for you to be free and follow your heart. The next lesson I learned from even just your first chapter of this book is the importance of divine wisdom, following and flowing with the energy of feminine and masculine. I love the way you describe the way that society talks about sex and pleasure and intimacy versus how Tantra views it. And you describe it as cultural myths teach us how to be men and women. Divine wisdom teaches us how to weave the masculine into the feminine and the feminine into the masculine. And I want to talk about and have you expand on how easy it is, and you've also experienced that in your own way, that people can sometimes judge you so quickly if you're a sexual being, if you're a sexual woman or a man and would like to express yourself in a way that feels good to you. You're not hurting anybody, you're not doing anything illegal, you're just exploring your own body with other people who want to be there with you. Yet society can be so harsh. The judgments can be so quick. And where sexuality really is our human right, it's our birthright, and bringing the divine into pleasure, the opposites of masculine and feminine, is such a beautiful and powerful thing. So help us expand and understand a little bit. I know it's a big topic.
Oh, it's a big topic.
But it's such a powerful and important topic, especially for this kind of conversation.
Yeah, I think where I want to take us for a moment is into the amount of practice I got during the many years of teaching Tantra together with Charles to literally tens of thousands of people, and groups of 80, groups of 150, sometimes groups of 20. But there was a practice that we always would do at the end of a weekend or a week-long course, and it's called puja. And it's still done all over India in the ashrams. And puja is where the women stand in a circle and the men stand in an outer circle. You're facing a woman. And with the teachings of the guide, that you stand before this man and this woman, and you look into each other's eyes without leaving the connection. And you begin to feel into all of your chakras or energy centers, which suddenly becomes very frightening for people who are feeling anything of a sexual nature, because there is no sexual activity that ever takes place in these pujas, to my knowledge. But the energy, we are sexual beings. And when we look into each other's eyes, what if it were okay that we also transmitted equally to being interested in what you had to say, being interested in a friendship, is that my sexuality and your sexuality are dancing in the energy field that we are teaching in.
Absolutely.
So it's going out to them too. It's going out to you. And it's a healthy, it's the energy of life. Our sexuality creates life. So if we can take it out of the fear energy and into the joy and the ecstasy and the beauty of the masculine and feminine sexual energy dancing together as one. And the music could be playing and those words would be spoken while these men and women were going around in the circle, facing each other, and then coming into hugs and embraces, not the kind where your shoulders hug, but the kind where the whole body comes into a breathing connection, and the energy from all the centers you can visualize is moving through both of you.
Absolutely.
And the amazing thing is that nothing ever took place that was out of integrity in these puja circles.
It's beautiful.
And every man and woman there, every married couple who had never had an intimate moment with another couple because it could mean blah, 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 came out of those starry-eyed, that they had just stood intimately with other men and women, and it didn't mean they were not monogamous with their beloved when they got back to their beloved in the circle. And that's what convinced me that it's healthy and real to be all that we are when we have every opportunity within the integrity and safety of your own beliefs.
Absolutely. You know, one of the beautiful things that I learned early on through the Tantra teachings was that I always thought that masculine and feminine was defined. However, it's more of a fluid energy that we all possess in different variations. You know, we can flow from being more in the masculine and more in the feminine. And Tantra teaches that fluidity, that it's okay. Your sexual organs do not define whether you hold the masculine or feminine energy. And that's where the true divinity of our being lies. And there's so much beauty in connecting as human, as human beings, as spirit, as energy. And as you mentioned, you know, imagining aligning your energy with someone else, imagining what their intentions for you are, their well wishes, how that can transform us. And I also love playing with the idea of, our slogan is live a turned on life. And I love playing with the idea of just turn on. It does not need to go anywhere else, but simply living your day being turned on by anything, by a good cup of coffee, by a piece of chocolate, by seeing another human being, whether that is a woman or a man or anyone else that you see, just allowing yourself to feel your centers get awakened and feel that little tingle of excitement and pleasure. And, you know, imagine now for yourself for a moment. Even close your eyes and just imagine how different your daily experience would be if you just allowed yourself to live a turned on life, to get turned on by the little interactions with your friends, with your colleagues, with chocolate, with coffee, with a good song, with just moving your body. Not in a sexual way, in the divine way, in the energetic way. How would it be for you to play with the masculine and feminine energies within your own heart, within your own body? Really redefined sexuality and pleasure in a way that makes sense for the modern world. You're right. Pleasure is a rite of passage into the realms of spirit, but only when it is joined to every cell of our being. Sexuality is by itself biological necessity in which we desire satisfaction, but Tantra comes alive when we surrender to the mystery by way of mastery.
Whoa.
And this sentence really resonated with me because pleasure, sexuality, intimacy, it doesn't just begin and end with relationships, right? It's a way of life. And what better way to live life than through mastery and integrity and being connected? And so can you expand on the thoughts and feelings and experiences behind this amazing wisdom that you've put into this writing?
Thank you. To offer you the opportunity to take this body of energy called your sexuality and join it to spirit, join it to whatever the divine is for you. whatever God, whatever picture, whatever feeling comes in for you about God and the divine, and realize that your sexuality is one with divine energy. That's how we got here. And yes, so many times a life is formed without any divine consciousness going on between the partners. But the egg and the sperm find their way into doing their magic. And yet in Tantra, when couples make love and are intentional about creating life, they're really bringing in, with intention, a new spirit. If they're looking to create a pregnancy and to create a family. And it's really beautiful to have them define how they use their mind and their energy during lovemaking to bring in the right spirit for them. So yeah, it's a sex was always something that didn't have very much to do with God, because you never heard about sex in church. And it was only in my first yoga class that I heard my yoga teacher speak of Tantra yoga. And I said, like, what is that? And he said, it's kind of a sexual energy for the lover and beloved. It's the yoga for the bedroom. Oh, I want that.
Right. Yeah.
I think I might like what takes place in the bedroom evermore. Yeah. If it could be anything like what I experience in yoga, which is peace of mind.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And union with the divine.
And what a better way to experience something that we all are doing, that we're all part of, because sexuality is so much more than just procreation.
Yeah.
It's connection. It's connecting with your beloved. It's energy creation. It's manifestation. There is so much energy when you add intention to your physical. And so learning to add this intentionality, this beautiful spirituality. And when Caroline says God, she doesn't mean a Christian God going to church.
No.
God is an ever-present energy. The universe, whatever God means to you can be yours. The universe, energy, God, Jesus, whatever feels good to you, that is God to you. That's why we say, Goddess, because it is the highest form of expression. And so I love that about Tantra as well. It's like you said, it's just a way of being. It's a way of being intentional with your body, mind, but also your spirit. And if we're truly honest with each other, even if you don't believe in spirituality or religion, connecting your physical, emotional, and spiritual being is part of being human, because we are not robots. There is just something to be said for that spiritual essence of life.
Yes.
And bringing that into our daily life, not just into the bedroom, but into our daily life, into our partnership, seeing our partner as somebody who's divine, who is that precious energy. It can shift a relationship just like that.
It does shift a relationship just like that. Because we're so disintegrated. We are so not integrated at the way we're raised or the way we are taught. And it really is the umbrella of yoga, Tantra yoga being like the yoga for the bedroom, okay? Or the yoga of love. And then people go, well, yoga, isn't that some weird religion? Or they don't know what it is. And to me, yoga was simply the invitation to become integrated. When I say integrated mentally, physically, spiritually, to understand that the powerful energy centers that run through me that are very much real and have been for tens of thousands of years in ancient cultures. And to integrate all that energy into one divine human being, that's when I began to embody I am tantric and I am a goddess and I am divine. And that didn't have anything to do with my ego.
Yeah, absolutely. So for our listeners who are maybe hearing these concepts for the very first time, is there something you would suggest that they could start as a practice with oneself or with their beloved, with their partner, with their husband, with their wife on a daily basis? Because just as we brush our teeth and take a shower to stay fresh, committing to that emotional and spiritual hygiene is so important. And I have found no better modality than Tantra to really take care of that aspect of life. So what would be your suggestion?
First two things that pop into my mind. Begin to take deeper breaths.
Yeah.
Much deeper breaths, because we all go around barely at the top of our breathing. So the practice of deeper breathing and eye gazing, opening the eyes and really looking into your beloved and letting them look in to you. So when I sit here with Ilona, I am gazing into her beautiful soul, and I feel her gazing into mine, and I welcome your gaze. And I take a deep breath of that connection as the necessary food that in the air that I breathe is the connection with another.
Beautiful.
And in this case, it's with you. At home, it's with my partner. When I look in the mirror, it's with me.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So try that for yourself right now. Close your eyes and take a deep breath in. And connect with that beautiful spirit within you. And ground yourself in knowing that you are a beautiful human being. Just here to experience life. And if you have a partner beside you, gaze into their eyes. And breathe in their essence. And acknowledge them for being a beautiful human being, having their very own experience. And it is all perfect. Thank you for that. Very lovely. Yeah. You know, communication, right? There's so many different forms. There's nonverbal communication as well as verbal. So practicing these little things, we are never trying to reinvent the wheel. It's all about going back to basics and remembering the simple things that really are the big things.
Yeah, the simplest things are breathing, which we do every day anyway. We have to, or we're not going to be alive.
Exactly.
And connecting with our heart center, which is what we started off saying, that we think with our heart, we let our heart be the guide for what we choose as real.
Yeah, absolutely.
So breathing and connect to the heart center, your own and your partner, and you're off to a really great start.
I love that. So do that for yourself from now on every day. Let your heart be your guide. If you'd like to learn more about communicating with your partner or learning a little bit deeper about yourself, we've put together a quick little free PDF guide for you. Simple phrases, big results. And you can get that in the description of the video below. Enjoy! The next lesson of a Tantra goddess was really discovering your freedom. This story that you write is truly of a woman who is not afraid to be authentic, who is not afraid to follow her heart and break free. And I wanted to talk about the importance of the fact that you recognized early on in your life that your life just wasn't what you imagined and you wanted something else. And just the importance of living the life that you desire instead of living the life that somebody else envisions for you. Can you tell us?
Well, the only thing I knew to do was to start living the life that was envisioned for me.
Yeah.
Get married, have a family, get your own house. I mean, these were the basic tenets of a nice American girl. And so as that unfolded and I went to do all that, or try to do all that, I then had to face that my body was not designed to make babies. So that was the next big hurdle, was to accept, who am I as a woman if I can't bear children? Whoa, that was a big one, because my husband wanted 4 kids, and I was, oh, well, okay, sure. You know, I didn't even think twice about it. And then when I realized that, when the doctor assured me that I would not be having babies, I spent quite a bit of time questioning, who am I? Who am I as a woman if I can't bear children? And it began to shift me in a really big way, because it took away the expected result of being a woman, and it gave me infinite choice.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I think the worst thing that could have happened was the breakthrough thing for me to say, well, then I am free from motherhood and the expected life of being a mom, because my body can't do it. And we did adopt, and I did adopt a child, and in the first year of having her, and the first couple of years, I faced that dilemma over and over and over, that I'm doing something that my body doesn't really have a connection to. Right. I'm doing it because I'm expected to do this.
Absolutely.
And it isn't that I didn't love her, it's just that it wasn't authentic.
Absolutely.
So I had to break free of the confines of living in the expected life with the husband and the in-laws and the home and the holidays, and just break free from all of that, which meant somebody was going to get hurt, or more than somebody, of course, was going to feel the pain of losing me, and they did. And I didn't wish that on them, but
of course,
it was very hard. And I had to live with the shame and the guilt that I had done this, that I had left my home, and I had, even with his blessings, I left my husband of almost 12 years, and I did not know how to make it a clean break with my 5-year-old daughter. I didn't know you could tell children what was really happening, so I didn't. And I think that's been an ongoing hurt for her.
Absolutely.
But you learn as you learn. So to answer your question, does that kind of encapsulate that what happens is that seems like the worst news you could get can almost be the news that will set you free in a certain way.
Absolutely. That is truly the lesson that you talk about in this book, that is so powerful, that sometimes the worst thing that happens to you is a lesson if you're open to learning it. And sometimes it looks different than what society tells us is the norm. And I feel like a lot of women will, and maybe men, will connect with this story and these feelings of, who am I if I can't have children? Or who am I if I don't want children? Or they have already had children, but now the pressure is so much because society again comes in and it says, you need to have a job, you need to be the perfect mom, your house needs to look like it's a page from Instagram. And it's hard to be all that you're expected to be. So navigating that, again, it comes back to being authentic to yourself, making choices for yourself, and having some grace with yourself, having some level of forgiveness and compassion. Because as you say, back then you didn't know that you could talk to children. And how many things do we not know right now? How many things are still in the dark for us? Being human is to be flawed. Being human is to learn constantly. And so how many things are we learning right now that we don't even know are needed to be learned yet, right?
Yeah, right. What comes to my mind, like I have to say this right now, is that most of you in relationship with a partner don't know how honest you can really be with him or her. You don't really realize that the partnership can hold extreme honesty. And if you can begin to be really honest in a gentle enough way, I mean, you don't want to slam someone over the head with your fantasies, but you can begin to go deeper in your partnership. With the honest truth of who you are, who you want to become, or who you are becoming, and who you're watching other people. You're watching these women do this program, and you're thinking, what about me? And let the uncertainty come up in the relationship that you both can look at and go deeper.
What a beautiful lesson right there. Honesty is always the key, and speaking your own truth is always the key. And listening to your partner's truth, allowing them to express their truth, will actually lead to being open and allowing to share your fantasies. I mean, it's like anything. You can't just go from 0 to 100. There needs to be an evolution. But the more you can be open and sharing from your heart, from your own personal feelings, instead of constantly blaming. You know what's that? When you point a finger, there's three fingers pointing back at you. Instead of pointing that finger, bring it back onto your heart and ask yourself, how am I feeling? What do I need more of? What is not working for me? And then share that from your own perspective with your partner. That truly creates the environment for a conversation that is fruitful and will take your relationship both with yourself, because there's a level of integrity and being proud of yourself when you voice your needs, but also with your partner.
And just yesterday, in the 23.5-year relationship that I'm in, that very thing just came to the surface, and I realized I'm pointing the finger and I'm saying, you don't, and you don't, and you don't. And then I shifted it halfway through and I realized what I was doing.
Beautiful.
And I was able to say, what I need from you is, and how I need you to come into the kitchen for dinner when dinner's, what I need from you is, and it changed the whole dynamic. And Ilona, we've been talking about all of this and making lots of notes for classes we want to do, and we're both living it in our own relationships, living the things that we're talking to you about, and we're both opening up deeper and deeper communications with our long-term partners, and it's getting better.
Absolutely,
everything is getting better with this opportunity to really look at.
Absolutely. And there is such a misconception that long-term monogamous relationships are boring and only get worse with time. Whereas it can only get better. Just like you're proof that you can only get better with age. There is this level of comfort, of being sure of yourself, of confidence, of knowing what you want and need. The same is in relationships. You can cultivate that with your partner that you have right now without having to reinvent everything. It truly starts with being present, being intentional, and communicating your feelings. I love the example that you just gave, because it just shows us and gives us all the permission to be human and to learn and to show that it's never too late to try something new, to pivot and change your approach.
It's so helpful to have it pointed out. And I can't thank you enough for the conversations that we've had and the deeper look that we've been sharing in order to share it with you, because we know what the pitfalls are, especially the personal stuff around aging. I bring that to the plate because I'm really looking at and feeling into my relationship with myself at this age, at 80. Because I always thought 80 was old. And some days I look at myself and I go, God, Caroline, you do not look 80. No. You do not look old. So we want to invite you to, that's why we're telling you that we do it too. And we have to be honest with ourselves and honest with each other.
Everything is a learning lesson, and everything can be repaired with the right tools and techniques. And this is exactly why we bring you this content. We want you to succeed. We want you to feel good in your body, in your mind, in your spirit, and also have that amazing connection with your partner. And if it's possible for us, it's definitely possible for you.
Oh yeah. I'm finding the tenderness and the sweetness of both of us entering into these aging years and having conversations about how we feel about our bodies and how we see the world changing and how different it is than we thought it would be, and we didn't expect this or that because we thought we were taking good enough care of ourselves, and it's just the reality of moving through life. And there probably is an end in sight, but neither one of us can see that possibility even. There's so much life still to be lived.
Absolutely. Always. So find your own way to live that life of yours that is so precious and so beautiful. So the final lesson from the first chapter of Tantra Goddess for me was really the message of breaking through the glass ceiling and finding your own freedom. You really go there in this book. You address everything from marriage infidelity, not being able to have kids, the motherhood,
Mm-hmm.
to the power of the man in society and the role of the woman, and everything and anything in between. You know, you go through your life through these lessons, through these stories, and truly show us an example of awakening to yourself, to your own life. And one of the favorite passages of this chapter for me was this. You said, I would do everything I could to find out what more there was to this life besides living in a container that isn't my size. I wanted to discover my potential, and I could only do that by moving forward. Yeah. And I feel like a lot of us can relate to this. You know, we tend to be stuck in our past, in our story, in the things that have happened. When sometimes the thing that we need the most is to shift the focus from looking backwards to looking forwards and just seeing what the possibility and what the opportunity is. And I feel like you've done that so well. Can you share some of those lessons and stories? And how did you find the courage to do that?
The old pioneering spirit of the family. I wish I had that. I wish I had that perfect pink pill that could help everybody. There's something about letting go and attachment that comes to my mind as we speak on this. Attachment to family and fear of letting go.
Absolutely.
So fear is a big one, because if we let go, then what?
Yeah, huge one.
Yeah, huge one. We all have to deal with letting go in the form of family, whether they pass away or whether we move away and don't see them very often. Change is good. Change is good. And you know the power of moving on, the power of just letting go. I love this place where I live, and I love this home and this apartment, but I wonder what's next. And so there is an adventuresome spirit that has to be alive in you, and a willingness for change.
Absolutely.
Change is good. Change, everything transforms when you have to let go and accept things are going to change. It's not going to be the same walk home. It's not going to be the same neighborhood, the same little market where you pick up your stuff, the same car you get into every day, even though there's something so comfortable about everything that's familiar. So we're just painting a picture of, I really grew to be good at letting go, even though it always hurt. It was always painful to say goodbye to the garage sale furniture I had just put in this house for the last couple of years, and look at the open road and wonder, well, where am I going to go, and how am I going to get there, and where am I going to live?
Absolutely.
And it happened so many times, so magically, that I had to finally trust in the magic. If I just trust in the magic of following my heart and following the adventure available to me of life, I will have an adventuresome life. And I will never have to sit in a rocking chair looking back at the things I didn't do.
Ooh, that's a good one.
That's a big one.
You know, I love that quote, you never step into the same river twice. And it really kind of puts a metaphor for life for me, because every single moment we're changing, we're transforming. You know, change is something that is inevitable in life. And so the only way to adapt is to embrace change. Don't be, like you said, don't be afraid of it, right? And it's beautiful that you said, I learned to embrace the magic. And I feel like that's such a powerful lesson for us, reading your story and listening to your story, is that, you know, when a baby's forming in the mother's womb, it's never like, oh, I wonder if I'm going to have a nose. I wonder if I'm going to have ears. You know, it just lets it happen. And we're also not telling the baby, come on, you know, it's month 3, you should be done. Come on, you know. That's great. Yet in our life, we are like, why am I not farther? You know, why am I not doing better? I should be doing this. Why? You know, Tony Robbins says we always should all over ourselves, you know, and it's so true. I love that concept of turning the shoulds into I get to. And I feel like you've really embraced that and embodied that in your life. You turned the I should be a mother. I should be a good wife. I should have a job that is responsible. I should stay in the town that I was born with. I should. And you replaced it with, what if I could?
Yeah.
And I get to live my life. I get to be my own woman. I get to experience with my own body,
Yeah.
I find that so empowering. And that is truly the message that your book embodies and that your life embodies and that you've helped a lot of people with, is to break those chains of pressure, of those boxes. I really love, like, I had to break out of the container that isn't my size. Right? Like, a lot of us feel that way. We're in a box that we were put in by our families. They were well-meaning, by society, by the world, by our culture, by religion. But sometimes that box doesn't fit.
I put myself in the boxes, or let's say the houses, that were my dream come true.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I can name, I can see those houses right now. A house was very meaningful to me. And so from one house to the next house to a better house to a house on the hill with a view of the ocean was like the ultimate house. And the furniture that I picked and the antiques and this and that. And then the moment came when there was something else I really wanted to do more than hold on to that house. And I remembered, did you ever do embroidery or sewing things? I used to love to embroider. And there was a saying that I embroidered into, I think, a work shirt that I was wearing. And the saying was, how well did you learn to live? How well did you learn to love? And how well did you learn to let go?
Wow.
And stitch after stitch of that phrase. I remember saying goodbye to that house in Malibu, and the husband, the marriage, the dog, the cookware, everything that met my dreams at that time. But there was a bigger dream waiting to happen. And the dream had to do with love, and it had to do with career, and it had to do with the truth inside of me. And I came home and I said, I have to go.
Wow.
And everybody's hearts were broken and everybody cried, and it was a big, to do. But I had to just pack my suitcase and say goodbye to all my favorite things and go. So it's not easy. I'm not saying in anywhere that it's easy to trust in your heart, to know when there's a bigger truth waiting for you.
And calling you.
Yeah, but the knowing is, you don't have to do it. But as long as you know you're not doing something that there's a calling, and you're either saying yes or no.
Ooh, so deep. So take a moment right now and ask yourself, what is calling your heart? Where in your life are you saying yes where you want to say no? Where in your life are you saying no where you really want to say yes? Big questions. Once you start asking yourself, then think about all the stuff in your life, your day-to-day that you've set up, and what are you really, truly afraid to let go of? That's a good starting place. Imagine yourself letting go. What would happen? What would be the consequences? And we are not telling you that you need to let go and change countries and travel the world and do all these radical things, but just imagining it and giving yourself a tiny little bit of freedom to take a different choice, to make something for yourself that feels good to you, that gives you a little bit more freedom than you have right now, to follow your heart, to follow your passion, to start a new hobby, to express yourself a little bit more. That's truly where the most powerful change and shift lies for you.
I don't think it happens to everybody the same way.
No.
Not everybody has these awakening moments where they have to make a big choice like that.
And most people don't. That's why it's so important to just be aware. Ask yourself the questions and say, where can I make a little change? Tiny little a tiny little way of allowing yourself to have more fun, to be a little bit more free, to dance, to experience things, to let your heart call the shots for a while. And it not always means changing countries, selling your house, leaving your family, nothing like that. Just a little bit more freedom, just a little bit more happiness, a little bit more pleasure.
We
Food
want
for
that.
thought.
We want that for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Some food for thought. So thank you very much for joining us for the first episode of Lessons of the Tantra Goddess. We have thoroughly enjoyed our time with you, and we hope that you join us for the next episode. Thank you very much, Caroline,
You're
for
so
sharing
welcome.
your powerful story with us.
You're so welcome.
It's been
My
amazing.
pleasure, I assure you.
And if you would like to spend a little bit more time with me and Caroline and improve your relationship, get a little tips and tools and techniques on how to reconnect with your honey, with your beloved, and how to take your intimacy to the next level, we have an amazing special offer for you to join us for our Bliss Masterclass, where you will find the tools, techniques, and everything in between that you need to create the relationship that you want. So check the link below. We will link it all there, and we will see you in the next episode.
Yeah, we'll see you in the area of bliss.